Hi, I'm Lisa Leiter. In Chicago Business Today, museum naming rights. The Museum of Science and Industry is close to reaching its goal of $205 million for its latest capital campaign. But the museum is still leaving the door open to a dramatic moneymaker, selling naming rights for the 84-year-old institution. It would be virtually unheard of for a museum to change its name for no other reason than money. And as Shia Kappas reports in this week's print edition of Crain's, it would certainly turn heads in a town that went ballistic when Marshall Field's became Macy's and the Sears Tower became Willis Tower. We sat down to talk about the prospect. So Shia, how likely is it that this would happen? Have any companies expressed interest in the naming rights?
No one has expressed interest, but the museum is leaving it open. If somebody approaches them, a philanthropist or a business, they're willing to talk about it.
And what kind of money do you think it would take to get the naming rights to the Museum of Science and Industry? Or is there any precedent at all nationwide that's been set for something like this?
There's no precedent, but there are other museums who have gone through similar plans, but usually only if they've moved or if they've made some major change. Right now there's a museum in New York City that has talked about selling its naming rights, and they put a price tag of $50 million on it, but that's a much smaller museum. Clearly the Museum of Science and Industry would be much, much more.
And the trustee who you spoke with said it would have to be higher than that, right?
Mr. Farrell, Jim Farrell, said yes, it would have to be much higher.
So it's not just the museum itself though, right? He mentioned that maybe there are some wings or parts of the museum that could be up for grabs in terms of getting naming rights to them.
There are numerous wings, halls, nooks, and crannies that all have no name right now and are up for grabs for being renamed as part of the museum's campaign to raise money. That campaign, fundraising campaign, ends at the end of the year. It's a $205 million campaign, so the goal is to reach that. They're almost there, and renaming one of those halls, or maybe the museum itself, is an option.
And the fact that they are pretty close to it, this far out before the end of the year is a pretty encouraging feat considering the economy.
Yes, it happened. They began their campaign almost 5 years ago. In the middle of that, the economy went haywire, and museums and other not-for-profits had a difficult time raising money from people, but the museum was able to slowly chip away, and they're at $196 million. So the museum feels by the end of the year they'll have met that 205.
Do any big name donors, have they been stepping up perhaps to take one of those nook and cranny spots, as you say? Did Mr. Farrell say that there was some interest there?
There is some interest. They're waiting to tell me who some of those names are, so we'll just find out.
Okay, well, sounds good, Sheila. This will definitely be a story to watch going forward. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And that's this edition of Chicago Business Today. For more on this story, be sure to check out Shia's Taking Names column in this week's print edition of Crain's and on chicagobusiness.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.